legend lives on from the fan base on down of the big company they called Disney. They destroyed more and more to raise their ESG score till the tables got turned and went shitty. With a Rotten Tomatoes score at least 100% more than before any of their movies start playing. With their eggs in one pail, they were too big to fail. At least that's what Bob Iger'd been saying. Their PR groups chide for not plugging gay pride, and that's something for which fans ain't been thinking. The board grew concerned with no profit being turned as their amusement park sales had been tanking. Much to Bob's chagrin, now their debts are called in, and this financial shitstorm ain't been calming. With our closed wallets and purse, well, they've only made it worse, as their latest classic remake's been bombing.
Welcome to an Archetypal Man podcast advent, coming to you live from the poop deck of the SS Walter E. Disney. Emphasis on poop, as the ship lists and bucks in the gale force freezing rain winds of the storm that is known as ESG. Tonight we're going to talk about the wreck that is Disney and the larger wrecks that are happening for many companies right now, many corporations, Anheuser-Busch, every subsidiary of Disney, Target, you name it, they got problems. DC, yeah. All right, Aries, you want to give an update since our last advent on
Sure, yeah.
the happenings and goings?
Yeah, since we're on the subject of sinking ships, DC would be a good one to pick up right about now. So basically where we left off with everybody, James Gunn had been called in as the co-chair CEO and Peter Safran to head up the DCU. And pretty much since that time, every mistake that you could make, deliberately or not, that can be made humanly, James Gunn has gone out of his way to do.
And I'd say a few cosmic mistakes outside human possibilities were also made as well.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. Unveiled the 10-year, the wait is over, 10-year slate that James Gunn is. I've never seen so many people get let down so fast in such a short amount of time. I mean, like I said, did he just pick the most boring content to put out for the next 10 years? I told you many times since that happened, I said, I would eat my hat if even half of these actually got made. It feels like a tank job. It just, walks like a tank job, quacks like a tank job. And most of the time it is a tank job. I mean, it just seems like he is trying to drive DC into the ground and drive away anybody who ever liked it.
Yeah. I mean, they fired Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, like, we'd really love to have you directing. And Ben's like,
we'd love to have you behind the camera.
Really? Something like that. Because we had maybe a little hope on our last episode that was recorded a few months ago. Those hopes were ruthlessly crushed.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's putting it mildly. But you were right when you said you didn't see this lasting very long. I mean, I think it was a case of Zaslav getting a call from the ESG Jimmy the Gun saying, "That's a real nice movie studio you got there. Be a shame if you died." Or something to that effect.
Oh yeah, got to shout out credit to James Linsday.
Yes.
James Linsday, that he really is Jimmy the Gun. I mean, that can't be ignored. I mean, that's another cosmic thing going on here.
Right, very much so. And speaking of James Linsday, he came out a week or so ago with an absolute banger of an episode on his
Oh man,
podcast talking about the ESG. Well, he was putting together pieces that I've been trying to track down for 5+ years now. And one of the piece that I hadn't figured out, I'm not very good at finances and stuff, is that it's not just the investment, right? Because we sort of figured that out with ESG. They got BlackRock that has $10 trillion in assets they can invest.
Relatively small amount.
Yeah, it's only bigger than every GDP of every country except China and the United States. So, no biggie. But also, it seems they have ways of controlling the credit lines for these corporations. James Linsday talked extensively about that. And so if you control both the investment, or a significant portion of the investment, and you control their credit, well, you can have even mega international corporations dancing like Pinocchio, with or without strings. It was a weird metaphor, but whatever.
It kind of fits, actually, considering.
Yeah, I think it does.
It's amazing how they really do become the gatekeepers for everything, even the kind of content that's created and the direction they want it to go. And they have so much control. I'd say too much control.
You think? Well, and the other thing, James Linsday, he pointed it out, but he didn't maybe dive into this as much as he could have, partially just for time, but it's really dark. What they've done is they figured out, some dude presented to the UN in like 2008, I think he said, how to get people's pensions, because most of these investment funds, it's mostly pension, like retirement funds and pensions and 401ks. They figured out how to take all that, useless money that's just going to help people retire. I mean, what a waste that is. Oh my God. Can you imagine? Why would... And now they're using it for the social change they want. In other words, to get woke things passed. At the risk of sounding like crazy or even woke, this is literal fascism. This is what fascism is. It is corporations working to pass de facto laws that the government can't pass through legislation or even executive order. That's fascism. I probably just blew out my microphone levels there. I get really emotional about this. This is the fascism. If the anti-fascist people, Antifa? If they actually were, if Antifa was actually anti-fascist, they would be raising holy hell about ESG, DEI, all this stuff, because that's fascism.
Maybe Antifa's trying to raise their CEI score too. I don't know.
Yeah. Are they a corporation? Close enough. I've got a headache already. All right. Anyway, so that's the lead in. So everybody check out James Linsday's episode. If you want to understand this stuff at all, you got to check it out. It's
he
really
breaks it down so brilliantly to where even a fool like me could understand it. I mean, really get a good grasp on it. So yeah, definitely check out the video. It's a good hour-long video that'll give you a good heads up on all this, because I agree with what he says in the video. People need to start talking about this. It needs to become a household topic of conversation on across content creators.
Right. And so he mentions, this is a good point, that in a way these corporations are held hostage a bit. Do you want to address that?
That was an interesting point. And I got to thinking about it, and I do kind of definitely agree. It needs to start with the people having a perspective change about this, because right now, everybody hates Disney, everybody hates what DC's doing. There's just a cold, hard, hatred going on for these companies, and I think what we hate more is we hate the convolution of our stories and our myths and our mythologies, and I think that's manifesting as hatred to the people that are putting them out. But I think they are hostage, like the rest of us are, how we feel we are to these people, because we feel helpless, right? I mean, we can't just cough up $300 million and go make a movie.
Right.
Lord knows I'd want to, but
there's not even a Walmart in my town. There's a Target. That's it.
Right.
Okay, well, I guess I can order everything on Amazon, because that's so much better in terms of not supporting an evil company.
Exactly. But, I do agree. A perspective shift where we look at these corporations like, okay, actually these people are victims the same as we are. Maybe they reached a little too far. Maybe they were a little bit too ambitious.
Right.
Either way, they got visited by Jimmy the Gun. Hey, nice studio you got. Hey, nice corporation you got here. It'd be a shame if you were to just suddenly go bankrupt, lose all
Right.
your funding. It'd be a shame if you couldn't get funding for anything ever again, ever.
Well, that was one of the things you and I were conjecturing after listening to the James Lindsay video. What if Zaslav came in with good intentions? Because even now, it feels to me like he did come in. He wanted to tell good stories. He was talking a good game. What if he just couldn't get funding to have Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill back? Basically, the Snyderverse. What if it was just as simple as you don't get any credit for the Snyderverse? If you want to pull some frou-frou, flowery, woke stuff, we got an open line of credit for y'all.
Yeah, and he may have wrestled around with it. No, but I think he did wrestle with it quite a bit. But I mean,
think so.
But this is the guy who came out and said, "Content is king."
I know.
Story is key. We're going to go back to playing the box office and telling good stories that are going to fill theater seats. I don't think he was just blowing smoke.
No,
there seemed to be a heart to what he was saying, and then all of a sudden, it just completely shifted. And they brought in James Gunn, which I thought was a very strange move.
Literally Jimmy the Gun.
Literally Jimmy the Gun. I do have to.
Yeah, please take all of it.
Literally Jimmy the Gun. Also, just from a corporate standpoint, he's a competitor. I mean, by the time that he was appointed co-chair of the DCU, the CEO, he was still contracted with Disney making Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
He was still actively editing
actively working on that project for a direct competitor. So it didn't, I mean, and like, that's a strange choice, really. I mean,
DC has a track record of that. They brought in Joss Whedon to finish finished. Yeah, he definitely finished the Justice League. He finished it. Ripped its heart out, ate it.
More of a Mortal
burned
Kombat
the liver.
Fatality. Yeah.
It was, man.
They've made a lot of, Hamada style choices, I guess people would call it, from the Hamada era. Just really strange choices. And then all of a sudden Zaslav is silent. I mean, Zaslav had affectionately earned the title of Zaslav the Destroyer. Now he's pretty much Zaslav the Silent. He last time I saw him, he was getting booed at a commencement speech at a university, and my heart went out to him just a little bit, because I saw some pain on his face, like literally soul level pain, as he realized, I mean, maybe that's the look that Faust had. I don't know.
Well, that's what this actually leads into what I wanted to talk about in terms of symbolism and spirituality. Is these companies have made a Faustian bargain, and to call it a Faustian bargain, they have literally made the bargain of Faust.
Yeah.
In case you're not aware, that's the famous deal with the devil, right?
Yep.
From Dante's Inferno, and it's every one of us does it. I've done it in my own life. Everybody does it. We think we can make the deal with the devil, and we think we'll outsmart him. We all think we'll get. It's like, nah, I got this covered. But what is the literary trope? What did we always find out in life?
The fine print.
The fine print, the devil is in the details, and he's always got some backdoor access that we never see coming.
Yeah. You're not going to outsmart the people that draw up the contracts. You're just not, especially when it comes to this.
Yeah, you're not going to outsmart the people that draw up the contracts and have your investment money and have your credit and have a huge say in who you can hire, who you can fire. Who controls media that's going to talk about you if you don't go according to their plan. I mean, I don't know that you could say they have every angle on you, but they got 99% of them.
They basically have every angle on you.
These are the Bond villains we've been looking for, right? These are the Sith Lord Bond villains, the Sith Bondians we've been looking for. They've got every angle on this. And so these companies have made the Faustian bargain. Again, referencing James Lindsay, pointed out that a lot of these companies maybe are thinking if they can get through this, they'll come out the other side and have several other companies that don't make it and get something like a monopoly or a much bigger market share. That's the bait, right? That's the bait that the devil offered them.
They're being promised that, what do they say? The monopoly status, pretty much at the end of this, the head, a seat at the table, that kind of a thing. And
so as long as you bow the knee, you have a chance to compete in this arena, so to speak.
But the thing is, they can pull the plug at any time,
Mm-hmm.
as what it's looking like over at the Walt Disney Company, um, with that proverbial rug being swept out from under them. Comcast.
Okay, yeah. Do you want to mention that?
Yeah, of the Hulu deal, I guess
Yeah.
would be the best. The rumor has it, rumor on pretty good authority, uh, that Comcast, who actually is part of the deal of, I guess Disney had entered into a deal with Hulu, the streaming service, and
Yeah, my understanding is they owned, so Comcast and Disney and maybe somebody else owned a part share of Hulu.
mm-hmm. And then Disney wanted to acquire all of it, and Comcast is pretty much calling in the debt now on that, like requiring payment finally for it, because they've had it up in the air, they've had it, and then Comcast is pretty much calling it in now,
Right.
somewhere to the tune of, I think, $8 billion is where it was standing last I had heard.
It's
of
whatever
what
whatever the valuation of
they're going to assess it.
Hulu
Yeah.
is, and so I guess that's the conflict is like how much Hulu is worth, because there's some crazy numbers, upwards of 20 billion, 30 billion.
And the rub is that Disney supposedly only has about $200 million in liquid assets at this time.
Which leads into another Faustian bargain, potentially. Now, we need to create a graphic. Conjecture zone. Okay,
Yeah,
this
conjecture.
this is Apollo conjecture zone. Okay, right here. The FTX thing smells to high heaven. That's the crypto market slash bank
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing that just like crashed, and there was Hollywood people connected to it, and Silicon Valley Bank, and a bunch of stuff. When I heard about this Disney thing, because there's connections with Ukraine and maybe money laundering and all sorts of, even Hollywood craziness going on in connection to FTX. Rumor mills, even the deep rumor mills are like Disney maybe was involved in FTX because all of a sudden, who was the CEO before Iger?
Oh, Chapek.
Chapek was fired a mere 10 days after the FTX thing blew up. He was fired on a Sunday night while he was attending an Elton John concert.
That would be the time to do it.
Right? So what if the FTX thing was some sort of honey trap? Conjecture, but what if the FTX thing was some sort of honey trap for all these big companies, and now they're really up shit creek, pardon the French. Let alone without a paddle. They don't even have a canoe. They're just taking on poop. I mean, just straight down the gullet, man.
Yeah.
What if they spent a bunch of money on this FTX thing and there was laundering or ways to get back, and now all these companies that went in, they have no choice but to follow the ESG guidelines in order to get any credit.
Yeah. And
Am
also,
I insane? Am I insane for thinking this?
I'll add, I'll knock a wall out and build a lean-to onto your conjecture zone and just say, what if, in this situation, these people, they draw up the contracts for these kind of loans. They control the lines of credit. They control the investments. They could control, what if they could manipulate that market and make it crash and burn?
No one would ever think like that.
It would drive all of these potential clients right back to their arms. They couldn't go anywhere else. If they wanted to make movies, which, they probably still do, they would only have one way.
That's crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theories.
Conspiracies
don't exist. Conspiracies don't exist. They've never happened once. Not even once. Never.
Was it early Joe Rogan said, dude, there's no sense in being paranoid. That's just what they want you to do.
I'm not paranoid. I just see patterns. And this one, I just go with my gut, because over the, past 5 to 10 years, I've really sharpened my intuition in my personal life. It's just usually on... just usually is. You and I have been right about a lot of these things happening with these companies, just as we discuss things, and it's kind of why we're here putting this out, just to see what other people see and to point out patterns we see. And if you think about the ESG thing, like the stuff we know, just the stuff we know, it's kind of crazy. They are trying to take over the world. They want net zero carbon emissions, just straight up net zero carbon, none. You either don't emit carbon somehow by not breathing, I guess, or you pay their tax and you pay their little sin tax. What was the an indulgence they called it in Catholicism, right?
You could
pay, and then. And these are the same people that think Christianity and Catholicism specifically is so terrible. The net zero carbon thing is just an indulgence system, people. You're not reducing any carbon anywhere. No. You're not significantly. It's just an indulgence system if you pay into their system. And so they got this ESG. They've got $10 trillion of assets. I can't even describe how much money that is.
No, yeah, absolutely.
You don't even know that they invest
in anything and anybody.
That they invest in what they want. They control lines of credit. They want every company to hire the people they want. So if you have less than a 100% corporate equality or corporate equity index, you get docked and you don't get all these privileges and you can't get your credit. I guess you got to get 100%. They are taking over the world. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy fact. It's happening. It's just straight conspiracy. They're doing it. They've even said it. The UN, all the most of the Western governments are doing this. Don't tell me I'm crazy. They're actually doing it.
No, this is literally global stuff. What's happening right here? I mean, that can't be understated. They're making moves, and people need to get onto the fact that this is so much more than just go woke, go broke.
Right. And no, it's go woke or you're dead.
Go woke.
Or your company dies.
Dead. Yeah. I mean, it's a very short menu for these corporations right now. Let's see. We have woke. We have salted woke. We have lightly marinated woke. It's all woke. And if you don't do it, then you lose your money.
Right. I'll take the panko breaded woke with woke sauce and a little woke cream on the side. Yeah. Excellent choice, monsieur. Would you care for a little Chateau woke? Chateau de woke? 1997 was a very terrible year. I mean, it's just...
Yeah. And it's safe to say that a perspective change definitely would be apropos in the fact that these companies are not necessarily the enemy. It is it is the deep, dark moneylenders, pretty much the gatekeepers that are behind this whole Ponzi scheme. I mean, it's criminal. It is absolute organized crime, just top tier, white collar organized crime that's going on right at the top level.
I hadn't thought of that. It's de facto organized crime.
Yeah.
I mean, if it quacks like organized crime and walks like organized crime and has an orange bill and flies and then goes in the water and eats the little bugs like organized crime, it might be organized crime. I don't know. Before we get to an exact perspective shift, symbolically, one of the things, what I see these companies doing, right? It's like the Faustian bargain, of course, but it's just got the feel to me of like some of these Masonic death rituals. You voluntarily, you want to join the club, right? And so we've talked about rites of passage. So check out our other episodes on rites of passage in order to get up to speed on how important rites of passage are.
Yes.
And one thing I will say, it doesn't matter really what you believe about rites of passage and symbolism and magic and the occult, because the people that run these companies and the high people or the people in high government positions, really high, they believe in it. They do. They practice this stuff. They believe in it. So all these companies entering in, it's like the gladiator entering into a somewhat fixed contest, right, where they know the emperor can kill them and there's all these little booby traps, but they want the glory at the end.
Yeah.
And it's also very similar to like Masonic rituals or others, but it makes me think of some of the Masonic rituals I've read about where to join or to get up into the higher things, you go through a ritual death. You get into a coffin, or maybe you pretend slit your throat. I know it sounds crazy. This is what they do. This is really what they do. You go in the coffin, and then you're insulted, or you have to say all your sins, right? Just like we're sorry, we supported the evil patriarchy or the evil capitalism. We're woke now, right? All these things are elements of these like initiation rituals where you basically are joining an evil organization or something to that effect, and people do that in real life, and these companies are doing that, hoping that they will be among the few that survive. To come out on the other side as part of the club. It's dark. It's really dark. I don't know that I can get across to you, the audience members, how dark this is. It's seriously dark. We're dealing with forces of life and death here.
Well, it's like what you and I pointed out in the very interesting thing with Zack Snyder and his universe he was creating. It's the anti-life equation.
Right.
And it's almost like he actually did discover the anti-life equation, and we're like, we're not going to talk about the anti-life equation.
No, you should be too busy eating the bugs to learn about the anti-life.
Exactly, because when you break down, you could spend multiple episodes just breaking down the seemingly woke agenda, the things that they push into this content, the commercials. It all just points to the death of the nuclear family, and kids are becoming less and less of the ideal scenario. It's pure anti-life in all these different little subtle ways, where it's just kind of pointing towards. Yeah, the wave of the future is everybody's going to be freakish and single, and
living on the bugs. You must eat the bugs. Let us all sing about the bugs. Eat the bugs, eat the bugs. The bugs are good for you, even though there's no nutrition in them. Thank you.
I've eaten many strange and scrumptious dishes in my time.
And they all had the bugs. No, I'm going to make fun of Klaus Schwab with all that stuff. These companies are seriously getting behind putting bugs and stuff. Not only are they getting behind it, they are putting bugs in things already under names that you would never think are bugs.
Yeah, makes sense.
I know for a fact they are putting it in pet food under weird names.
Bugs, because dogs just love bugs.
I have
it all the time.
Literally overheard executives for natural pet foods companies talking about, we're really, what was the term? We're really sustainable. These other companies are pretending, but we're working on the bug formulas and we're doing this stuff. I'm not joking. There's a couple of companies out here in my town. And he was dead serious. He was
oh my God,
dead serious about how we're really sustainable. We're really doing it. We're authentically doing it because they're putting bugs in dog food.
Oh, yeah, that one's a little bit hard to.
I mean, my cat
process.
My cat will occasionally eat a cricket, but it's.
I mean, my dog, tries to catch lightning bugs every once in a while, but
Right, to maybe come back around. So they're in this like death dance. They're in this like anti-life dance with death, and it's the symbolism of Christianity. It's the symbolism of Moloch. It's the symbolism of everything that you're making human sacrifice. Right, that's what it always comes down to. And the question is it what are the ends toward it? Right, it's like we can sacrifice ourselves to meaningful ends, like we sacrifice our day. You and I are making a sacrifice to record this and hopefully get the message out. Or do you try to make other people make the sacrifice by buying woke beer? And they're doing a dance with death, thinking they'll come out on the other side full of life. But it never works out that way when you dance with the devil. At the risk of sounding Christian or religious or whatever, it's because it's in mythology. It's in Greek mythology. It's in psychology. It's not just in religion or even just Christianity. Certainly Buddhism and Taoism would talk about those things. I can't speak to many other religions, but they're doing a dance with death, and it's not going to turn out very good for them unless, and here's my idea, they start crowdfunding.
Oh, crowdfunding. Yeah. Oh, that's right. We had kind of touched on that, haven't we? Yeah.
Because I think this wraps it up.
Yeah. I think crowdfunding would completely change the game.
They would have to be humble enough to do it. If Zaslav would come out and say, if he would just at least hint, look, we've gone through some stuff. We had some issues getting funding. We would love to bring Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot back. We're going to do a GoFundMe. He wouldn't even have to get any further than that. He could get on his GoFundMe page, and there would be $1 billion, and it'd be ticking up. The internet would be broken.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, that, or you could do, we'd love to bring this, but we'd love to have Ben Affleck do his Batman trilogy. We'd love to have Ben Affleck do his Deathstroke movie. Say no more. Here's $500 million. Go have fun and make that movie. I mean, it would change everything because it would present a second option to ESG, which I'm sure they would not like. I'm sure they'd be able to, go to the Supreme Court and be like, there's something illegal about this.
They would definitely run interference. But what if 5 big companies do this? Are they going to be able to run that much interference? I don't know. Maybe. But
maybe. I don't know.
What are we going to do? What other options does DC have to make any money? Or is it just all this weird fiat currency Ponzi scheme where they're just going to go to the money printer, go burr,
until it blows up their face? I mean,
because I think the only option for companies now is money printer, go burr.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. That is the point. That's the takeover, people.
Yeah.
Crowdfunding? No, I know I'm not crazy. I know it's possible.
No,
it's at least a possibility.
Everything is a Kickstarter now. I've seen so many more crowdfunding initiatives for different things. I've even seen some things on Facebook, a couple of A-list kind of actors putting together a crowdfunded movie studio where they actually invest in movie projects. I think Simon Pegg was actually one of the people involved with that. But I mean, things like that, they're starting to kind of come around. But if they go all the way to I think they should just skip the foreplay and go straight to just straight up crowdfunding. I mean, because I belong to several groups. I have my finger on the pulse of several groups just on Facebook that talk about this kind of stuff all the time. Not this specifically, but I know for a fact that if David Zaslav or, anybody from DC would be like, hey, we need some money. Could we? Shing? I mean,
the internet's broken. We're gonna work on getting it fixed again.
Zaslav be like, I need 200 and I need $2 billion to pay off James Gunn's contract.
I'm sure it doesn't take $2 billion to pay it off, but yeah. Seriously, he's like, I need to pay off James Gunn's contract so we can get Snyder. Bing, 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 bing.
It's like, this program has performed an illegal operation and will be shut down.
I'm sure there would be interference run.
Yeah. But I would pay. I'd pay. I know you'd pay.
Happily.
And I know a bunch of people that would happily be like the Simpsons.
Or
even
yeah, or even, a streaming service, like just make it like a streaming service. I would happily pay $25 a month. I guarantee you there's millions of us who pay $50 a month.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I would do it. I'd do it in a heartbeat. But I think a lot of people would too.
Right. But it's going to take, but for them to do that, would take a serious act of humility and courage. Mm-hmm. Like it would be like coming to Christ, to put not too fine a pointed metaphor on it, but I will. It would be a come to Jesus moment because they would be taking the plunge and the ESG would be pissed, whoever, whatever, whenever they are.
They literally would have to go before people and confess their sins. I mean, come on.
Right.
Like
Jimmy the Gun would be like sneaking in to try to set fire to the studio or something. Who knows? But metaphorically, right? This would be serious business to do, which this is serious business, right? It's pop culture that we're talking about specifically, but this is serious business. These companies tanking affects the economy. It affects real people, their lives. How many hundreds, maybe thousands of people have been laid off by Disney and DC and Anheuser-Busch and all these companies? Most of these people are just normal people that want to be VFX artists or script writers or gaffers or whatever it is they do, but nobody's coming to see the movies.
Yep.
Nobody's watching the TV shows. These people need to work. The effects on the economy are almost unfathomable.
Right.
It's like real numbers, real people, real lives being affected by this stuff.
Yeah. And I think that's why James Lindsay's perspective change he was talking about is so key in this specific issue, is because the backlash from people to these corporations, it is ruining careers.
Right. Well, it's very reminiscent to me of narcissistic abuse and these double binds that narcissistic people will put you in. Essentially, darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Right.
They'll set up a scenario where they get to be angry either way, and these companies are put in these situations where they're going to make somebody angry. They'll either make the woke mob angry, and the media will talk terrible things about them, or they will anger rank and file people that just want to go buy beer that isn't woke and watch a movie that tells a good story, basic kind of things. They're going to piss somebody off. Who do they do? Who do they choose? Right? Anheuser-Busch is trying to find the middle path, but the middle path is, if it exists, it's super slippery. And I don't know that it exists, right? They narcissistic people, certain kinds of psychopaths, especially narcissists, they want to humiliate you. They want to destroy your sense of self, and these companies are essentially having to bow the knee in very embarrassing ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't forget corporations. The CORP comes from corpus, meaning body.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They are legally speaking, and metaphorically and even symbolically, they have personhood. They are persons in the technical sense, right? And legally speaking, even more so. Like if you get into the legalities of any of it, they are people, right? They're a limited liability kind of person, but they're a person. They have personhood. And so at the symbolic level, the ESG is making these corporate people, the corporate person, embarrassed, humiliated, subservient, submissive. Right, we used to think these were the big guys, the mega international corporations. It seems like there's always a bigger fish, in the words, ultra wise words of Qui-Gon.
Yeah. No, there's so many. I mean, I thought it couldn't get any more interesting just when Zaslav took over, let alone when he appointed James Gunn. I knew interesting things were going to be happening, but this stuff is happening. And it's outing itself at an alarming rate. And it's getting more and more obvious. It's going to be the duty of people everywhere to start talking about it. Because if we could put words to it, we could put a stop to it. One way or another, in the fact that you have to get awareness first. And that's what we're working on right now is getting awareness of this ESG, the CEI, DEI scores, that these companies are, the hoops that they're jumping through. We have to realize who the real problem is. Right. And I think we've got the finger on the pulse pretty well. We're following along.
For sure. And my intuition tells me that the ESG groups, like the people that design this, they actually know that the jig is just about up, if not up, because it's hitting mainstream. When you hear pop culture analysts constantly referencing ESG, this highfalutin corporate finance stuff, like the jig is basically up. It's going to be changing form here in the next 1 to 5 years. Mark my words.
Yep.
Like this is Apollo's intuitive prediction. Like they're already working on whatever the next thing is. But that just means we have to route ESG out so we can be ready for whatever the next thing is, because it's coming.
Yeah,
and now is the time to route out ESG. I mean, I'm sending this out like brainwaves, internet waves, like crowdfund DC, Disney, whatever. Do it. Try something. Be brave, right? God or the universe or the great Tao rewards the brave, right?
Right.
That's the principle here. That's always the mythological and symbolic principle.
Yep. Lots of interesting things around the bend, and we will be there to cover. And definitely keep talking about this, and we'll be following along. DC, Disney, Star Wars, more advents to come, I'm sure. So
until and after next time, I'm Apollo.
And I'm Aries.
And thanks for joining us on this App Advent.
Yep. Tune in again, and we'll see you soon.